The prodigal son has returned. Hey guys, it's me again, Douglas, and today I want to keep talking about love. And we're talking about 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and what it says love is and what it isn't. And last time we learned about how it says that love does not rejoice in evil. It does not delight in evil. It doesn't celebrate evil, right? If God says that something is wrong, we don't celebrate it. We don't get excited about it. And that verse says love does not rejoice in evil, but rejoices in the truth. And that's the part we're going to be talking about today. We should celebrate truth. And I think that sometimes people do stuff that they say is rejoicing in the truth or rejoicing with truth, but it's really not what God wants them to do. And there's a story in the Bible that Jesus tells that I really love for a whole lot of reasons. And I think that it kind of pertains to this passage where it says that love does not rejoice in evil, but rejoices in the truth. And the story is called the prodigal son. And prodigal is a word that we don't really use except for this passage. And prodigal just means like wasteful or excessive or really both, excessively wasteful. So the story is called the prodigal son, or you could call it the story of the really, really wasteful son. And in this story, there's a man and he has two sons. And one of those sons comes to him and he says, "Dad, I want my inheritance." And his inheritance was like when his dad died, his dad would split up everything that he owned and give it to his two sons. He'd split it between his two sons. That wasn't until after he died. The son came to him and he said, "I want my inheritance now." Right? He was essentially saying, "I wish you were dead and I had your stuff. Give me your stuff." And man, I feel like if I was that dad and my son came up to me and he said that, I'd be like, "You better run, kid." Right? Like I would not be happy. And I don't think this dad was happy, but he gave his son his inheritance. And I think that one of the hardest things ever is to let people make mistakes. It's hard. Really hard. And boy, oh boy, did this son make mistakes. He took all that money from his father, the inheritance from his dad, and he wasted it all. He spent it on nonsense. He spent it on stuff that he should not have been spending it on, and then all the money was gone. What his father had spent his whole life to build, this son just wasted it all. And he had nothing left, but he had to eat, so he went and he worked with the pigs. Like he fed them their slop, like the nasty stuff that pigs eat. And he was so hungry, he was so poor now that he was looking at the stuff that the pigs were eating, and he wanted to eat that food. And I feel like this part of the story is kind of lost on us, because pigs are kind of, they're kind of gross because of mud or whatever, but they're not that gross to us. But to the audience that Jesus was talking to the Israelites, the Jews, this was extra gross, extra bad, because God told the Israelites not to eat pigs. Don't eat pork. Don't even touch them. This was an unclean animal. It wasn't just dirty with dirt. It was ceremonially unclean. And so the son is sitting there with the pigs, and he's like, "Man, even my father's servants have something to eat at least. I should go back to my father, and I should ask him if he'll let me be one of his servants." Like the best he was hoping for was that his dad would let him be a servant. Right, and that probably wasn't even likely because he had been so bad to his father and he had wasted everything. But he was like dying. He had to at least try, and so he went to his dad, and he did not find what he expected. He didn't find what I expected either, because again, if I was the dad, I would be mad, mad, mad. And when he went back to his dad, his dad did not slam the door in his face and send him out and say, "You get what you deserve." He didn't tell him how foolish he was. He didn't remind him that the dad was right and the son was wrong all along. And he didn't even say, "Yeah, well, you can come back, but you have to be one of my servants." He didn't do that at all. Instead, the dad, when he saw him far off, he ran to him and gave him a huge hug. And he was so, so, so happy that his son had returned. So happy that he put him in the best clothes and he threw a party for him and he all this food. He was so, so, so happy. And he just and only celebrated that his son, who had gone, had returned. And in this story, the father represents God. And that's what God is like for us. When we sin against God, God loves us no matter what. And if we come back to him, he celebrates. But man, we as people, when people do something that is wrong and we don't give into peer pressure and celebrate with them in this wrongdoing, celebrate this thing that God says is sin. If we don't celebrate that sin, we can end up getting really bitter instead. Right? Like I told you guys last time about how my cousin doesn't talk to my family anymore. He's cut us off because my cousin has chosen to do something that we know God says is wrong. And so we didn't celebrate with him about this thing that he chose to do that was really, really important to him. So he called us all kinds of names and said we were very hateful, and he hasn't spoken to us since. We tried to be loving, we tried to be kind, but we couldn't support it. Now, if my cousin were to come around and realize that what he's doing is wrong and come back to us, how do you think he's going to feel if we're like, told you so? We didn't support this thing because we knew it would turn out badly, and now it did. You got what you deserve, right? That would be terrible, but that's kind of like human nature, right? Right? We would feel like, I'm glad you finally came to your senses, but you haven't been properly punished yet. So we're just going to keep reminding you about how foolish you were. You know, in the prodigal son, there's another character in the story. There's the other brother who did not take his father's inheritance, and he was mad. When his dad was so excited about the son that had left and returned, the son who stayed was mad about it. Really mad. But it's not like the prodigal son had wasted his brother's money. He wasted his father's money. So it wasn't up to the other brother to, punish the prodigal son. And when people sin, they're really not sinning against us. They're sinning against God. And if God is going to forgive them, we need to forgive them too. And the best way to help people choose the right path is not to, beat them over the head with the truth, not to attack them with the truth, not to punish them until they do what is right. It is to stand up for what's true in a loving way and then rejoice, absolutely celebrate when people come to the truth. We are not the judge. We're not the ones who decide what's right and wrong. We're not the ones who punish people. God is all of those things. And we are called to not rejoice in what is evil, but rejoice in the truth. And again, rejoice in the truth. Sometimes people take that and they kind of twist it up where it's like, yeah, I'm rejoicing with truth by attacking people who lie. They're like, I am standing up for what's right by making fun of people who are wrong. That's not rejoicing in the truth. That's being right and hateful, which is wrong. So if you're living that way, you're living the exact same way as the people who choose what's right and wrong for themselves. In that story, you're not the brother who did what was right. You're the prodigal son who God will forgive. So we should forgive others. So my challenge to you guys today is that you would stand up for what's right. Don't delight in what is evil, but rejoice with the truth. Don't celebrate sin. Celebrate when people come back to God. Big time. Celebrate. Don't say I told you so. Just celebrate in the truth. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It does not delight in evil, but it rejoices with the truth. Hey guys, I hope you liked this video. And yeah, this two-part episode where it says love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It's hard. It's big time hard. Seems like it's especially hard nowadays. But love is hard. Love is not just a feeling. Love is a choice we make. And God wants us to choose love. And so when we don't rejoice in evil, we should do that in a way that is loving. And when we rejoice in what is true, we should do that in a way that is loving. Godly love is hard, but it is so, so worth it. And it's a love that can change lives for the better. Rejoice in the truth.